begin to wonder why it's July. Oh no, why is it July? Because it's nearly the end of the month. Things just go so quickly, don't they? They come and they go and they go and they come and everything starts and then everything ends. It's the summer. Whoa, I'm going to go home to see my parents very soon and then I'm going to go to Edinburgh in the middle of the month. I've decided just the 13th of August I'm going to go and I'm going to have one live and digital show where I'm going to interview Ash Price, who runs the Edinburgh Horror Festival, and maybe some other people too. And so it's going to be in a real venue, and it's also going to be going to be on the internet as well. So amazing, and there's nobody here, so I don't know who am I telling. Nobody's here, and nobody cares. I keep going, and everyone stares, but they don't because there's nobody to stare at all. It's all just looking at a blank wall, except this isn't a blank wall. It's got really weird wallpaper. So yeah, hello, how are you, Peter? So there's people here. Yay, more than one person here. Ha ha, hoo-hoo. Yay. Just try and adjust this. I took it downstairs to do a video last week and now it's all over the place. Yes, I'm going to have to start taking things down soon. Dismantling my life. I don't know why, I don't know where. Yes, so I've been watching lots of films this week. Woohoo! Baby Ollie paper, exactly. Baby Ollie paper all over the walls. It might have even been here before Ollie. Greetings. It might have been here. I mean, it's a very spooky horror movie. Talking of which, I've seen lots of films, that's the name of them. I've seen lots of films this week, and including Beau is Afraid, which is an Ari Aster thing. Now, I might have talked before, I have made a sort of parody of Midsummer, if you've seen it, Mid-Autumn, with puppets. Because, hello Terry, because everybody loves puppets, because the thing about Ari Aster thingies is they're absolutely hilarious, and I'm sure they're meant to be, but they're supposed to also be horror. So I saw somebody saying the reason that Beau is Afraid did so badly is because the poster had 3 different versions of a very bedraggled looking Joaquin Phoenix and also a young boy who's playing Joaquin Phoenix as young, and people were thinking it was a family drama or some sort of weirdness, and it was weirdness, but it's it had I was going to say Patti LaBelle. It's not Patti LaBelle. Patti LaPone. Patti LaBelle, Patti LaPone. Patty cake. So it's got people in it anyway. And Parker Posey, not to be confused with Posey Parker, who's a very different animal indeed. And yes, so Parker Posey, who hasn't been in that much lately, but she's in stuff. And what was unusual about that is that Joaquin Phoenix is 48 and Parker Posey's 56. Now that's something you don't see much in Hollywood. So actually, she's aging a lot better than Joaquin Phoenix. I don't want to shame Joaquin Phoenix. He's playing a character in this, and the character is very much sort of ground down by life. But I know Beau is Afraid. If I was Beau, the unfortunate things that happened to him, I would very much not bother going out of bed, and at a certain point I would just go, oh, bugger off everyone, leave me alone, I'm not even going to bother anymore. But that's not what he does, because that wouldn't be much of a long film, and it is a long film. It's nearly 3 hours, so it's very long if you like that. So if you like Ari Aster, who's a sort of mixture between Charlie Kaufman and Wes Anderson, if you can imagine that, with a little bit of Richard Carpenter and that sort of stuff, and The Wicker Man thrown in for good measure. So yeah, if you've got sort of horror version of Wes Anderson stroke, yeah, that's pretty much where you're at with that. I also saw, which was much more fun, I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now that is also a long film, but not quite as long. Not quite as long, just a little, but it's, I tell you what, cinemas need to bring back the times when they had an intermission. Do you remember that back in the old days? Intermissions, and you get ice cream, and you get pop, and you get popcorn, you get a lovely hot dog, and then you go back to your seat after being to the toilet, because otherwise they are too long, they're they're too long. I always measure a good film by how long it takes me to go to the lavatory. Actually, neither of those films really made me go, oh, I need to get out of here. But Lord of the Rings were very long, and I could sit through those. But usually it's like, I just have to get out of here. Like Wolf, that had Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson, was one that I had to just, it was not even a long film. It's like, I can't make it through this without leaving, because it was not quite gripping me. Yeah, do you like this? I found it in a cupboard. It looks a bit like a Doctor Who. It's actually Fight Box, which is a thing that used to be on one of the digital channels before the last ones. I think it was before BBC Three, when it was like BBC Play, what was it? BBC Choice? BBC, whatever it was before BBC Three, which I can't remember, and I should remember because I was working for TV magazines at the time. Before it was BBC Three, it was something else entirely, and that's when they had all the things, and they were trying to do all digital TV and trying to make it all interactive and stuff and be innovative, but that sort of stopped quite soon after that. Anyway, so it does look like Doctor Who, but it's not Doctor Who. It's quite a nice little logo, isn't it? Yeah, lovely. So, what am I doing this week? I don't know. I am going to a workshop the week after. Oh, next Sunday, I'm going to go to Tolpuddle. I have to get up really early in the morning because the bus goes from Victoria Station at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I live a long way from Victoria Station, so it's going to have to be middle of the night. I'm going to get up to get to that, and then the bus goes all the way to Dorset. If you know what the Tolpuddle Martyrs are, they were very early unionists. They tried to form some sort of trade union, like a very, it wasn't fully a trade union, it was more of a sort of society to try and get workers' rights and so that they weren't getting exploited. And what happened to them is they got punished by getting sent to Australia. Now, Australia is a lovely place to go these days, but it really wasn't where you wanted to go back in the day, and they got transported. So it was like a free trip, really, transported to Australia, and none of them, even though there was outrage and people were all over the land were going, no, this is outrageous, we must start a campaign to bring them back. They never got brought back. I think one of them might have actually came back and visited, but they were all pretty much over there for the rest of their lives. So that is like the anniversary. Every year, then people go all over the country, from all over the country to maybe even over the world, to go to Tolpuddle in Dorset and sort of commemorate. And it's a free trip. That's mainly the reason I'm going, is it's a free trip and it's a day out. It's a very long day out on a coach. And like I said, with the whole how long does it take you to go to the loo in a film? It's gonna not, it's longer than Beau is Afraid to get there, I think, in the middle of Dorset. But and then come back in the evening. So that's going to be a lot of coach trip, really. And then so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go to a workshop the week after that, and that'll be fun. And I'll learn how to do things how to act when you're not acting. No, how to be an actor when you're not acting, I think it's called. And that's a workshop with Christina Chong, who you might know because I mentioned her last week, is in Star Trek, the new Star Trek, so that's nice. So she's doing acting now, but she's apparently like doing all writing and other stuff as well, because she wasn't doing as much acting as she wanted to do. So it's how to do things when you're not doing that. Not that I do. I need to know how to be an actor when you're not acting, because I don't, frankly, do an awful lot of acting. I would like to. I was looking at Spotlight to see all the things. The thing is, if you haven't got a really big agent, you don't get all the like Game of Thrones and the Marvel movies and all of that stuff. So I can't really audition for stuff that I don't see, because I'm my own agent. I am my own grandfather. Because I'm my own agent, they don't really show you anything. So it's all stuff like student film, some money if you're lucky. We might throw you some peanuts or let you have a break to go to the lavatory, which, as I said, is quite important to me. So yes, I was looking to see what else. I have had jobs from Spotlight. I had got an advert and a couple of student films and stuff. Nothing big. I did once, for a very brief envelope of time, I did get to see the Game of Thrones castings, and I applied for a casting there for one of the parts, which I think was taken by Kate Dickion. And quite coincidentally, one of the castings was looking for a Kate Dickey type. And I was like, oh yeah, she was like the sister of Catelyn Stark, I think, in it. So she's quite gaunt. She's northern, but she wasn't northern in that. But it said that they wanted a business type, and they wanted her to have short blonde hair, and she hasn't got short blonde hair, so that was confusing. Anyway, I didn't apply for that because I maybe should have done, because I went for the job that she got, so I should have gone for the job that they were, but I didn't. But I could have done if I'd wanted to. Anyway, so I don't know what's happening. You might have seen I put a short up. I put a short because I've been watching lots of little videos everywhere, and I saw this thing where this person was just, I mean, it's really weird on another place. There's a lot of social media places now, but one of them beginning with T, although they all begin with T, apart from this one. One of the ones beginning with T that's been established and wasn't brought up this week, that's been around for more than this week. There's been lots of stuff with people going, oh yes, this is how I'm going to tell you rich people's secrets and everything, and they never do. You could just keep watching. You're like, what is it then? They don't even tell you what it is. You just keep watching and watching and watching and watching, going, they're going to tell me eventually, but they won't. They won't. And another thing they do is say, if you follow me, then you can get millions of followers by following me and looking at my live video. Just join me for 3 seconds and watch my live video and you'll have thousands of followers. But then if you actually look at their page, they've usually not got that many followers. Or they have after a little while, because people are following them because they want to be able to have lots of followers. So it seems very, it's like Ouroboros. It's swallowing its own little tail. It's like, what are these people doing? Nothing. They're just persuading you to follow each other, a never-ending circle. No, like, yeah, beginning of the circle, the end of the circle, like a never-ending wheel, never changing or beginning, and I don't know the lyrics to that. Anyway, the circles, the windmills of your mind. Windmills. Have you got windmills in your mind? I'm getting a bit worried. I'm thinking it's a bit hot. I'm just like, am I getting forgetful and stupid? Yes, probably. Like I've been that all the time. Anyway, beach. That's not what's the point of anything? Anyway, what's this? Got thing to put these things in. I should put things away, and they're just sort of hanging around. I've got loads of wigs and things. You must have missed me say that. I'm going up on the 13th, and I've got one live show where I'm interviewing somebody, and it's going to be online as well. It's going to be live and online, so you can come and see me talking to somebody else. Yes, cheap desk fan. That's what you need. That's really, it's like, cool down. It'll be good. And so I'm going to go up, and I'm going to just basically, I'm going up there as a sort of industry professional. There's words for it, isn't there? So I've got a pass to let me into the Fringe Central as an arts professional. So I can just sit there and drink coffee and schmooze and go, yes, I'm a big deal, me. I'm not a big deal, but I can pretend to be a big deal just for that tiny window of time. But I'm going to do just one live show. I might do some more if there's some like spare spaces. Who even knows? I might do a show, but I've got one show, and it's interviewing somebody else who knows the venue and is going to talk about their thing. Like the Edinburgh Horror Festival, which is in October, because it's around the time of Halloween, is a really good thing, and so I'm going to interview him and talk about that, really, Never let them think you're not a big deal. That's quite right. Never let them think that you're not a big deal, because of course I am. Well, this is the thing, like, people, I do things, and I do things, but I'm sort of behind the scenes with a lot of things. I get things done, but I don't go, well, hi, look at me, I'm so amazing. Whereas other people might not do as much as me, and they tell people about it. Now I'm telling you about it, so I'm completely disproving my own argument. But other people seem to put it everywhere and go, look at me, I'm such a big deal. I do loads of stuff. And I go, no, I did all that stuff. I'm not telling everybody that I'm a big deal. You didn't do as much as me. How come you're taking all the credit? And I get all bitter and twisted. So that's probably not a good thing, really. But yeah, I'm a big deal. Yes, oh yes. Yeah, I am not the most famous person in the world. I would love to be. But as shown, I didn't even get the part in Game of Thrones that I applied for. They didn't even want to see my self-tape. And I'm good at self-tapes. All the self-tapes I've done, I've like only done a couple. But I've got jobs out of them, so they must be really good in that. But I did one with the, I mean, talking about Ari Aster and horror films. I have said this before. I don't really believe that people can actually scream. It's just this horror films. There's this thing where people go screamy, scream, scream. And I had to do something where I had to scream on camera, and I couldn't do that. I thought, I'm going to show you how you can be scared with, it's still on YouTube, be scared without screaming, but it doesn't come across because I think people like you to go all like, eh. That's me screaming, eh. So that's really convincing, isn't it? But I don't think that I mean, if you see things, my natural reaction would be like, you'd just be shocked. You'd just be like, or you'd just be like, or you'd just be thinking about it, but you wouldn't scream. I don't scream. So I'm not like damsel in distress. Distress? What are you talking about? Damble in distress. Damble in distress. I'm not a damsel in distress. At the best of times I'm not. But I cannot do the screaming thing. The screaming thing is just not me. I don't believe it's true. Now, I've asked other people and they go, yes, I can scream. I scream all the time. It's like, yeah, freeze response is more common with fear. Or just like, ah! That's the scream. That's ah! It's not really that scream. I saw something with Stephanie Beacham once that said that she used to, well, when she went to America, she had white fillings put in her teeth because she had to do the screaming acting, because she was in like Hammer Horror and stuff like that, and then she did more American Horror Stories. She didn't do American Horror Stories, so she had to scream. But I can't do that. I can't do the screaming. And also I'm missing a tooth there. It's right there. So I'd have to go like, so that you didn't see it. See, you can see? Big gap. That's where, and it was quite horrible anyway, because I had a filling in it since I was a tiny child. It's never been a good tooth. I think it might have been a goner before it even came out. It's just like, I'm a stupid tooth that makes your mouth all swollen. And yet it stayed for quite a long time, until last year, in fact. But now, I mean, I was thinking, that's it though, I was thinking of getting a little, for just in case, this is it, right? I was thinking of paying like more than £2,000 just to have a tooth put in there. And I was like, so I can chew, because I still can't really chew on that side. It's like, so I can, it's not that. The reason is I was thinking, like Stephanie Beacham, I might need to do another horror film, because I have been in horror films. I might need to do another horror film where I need to do the screaming acting. And so I need a special white shiny tooth in there with a little titanium screw and a lovely cap. But they're very, very, very expensive. And the trouble is, I got the sickness of the horrible thing that was around for the 3 years that you can't talk about, never speak its name, just after I had my tooth out, like 2 days later. And then I lost my job. I think it's sort of linked with the fact that it was like towards the end of when you were still supposed to stay home and not go into work. But I phoned in sick and stuff. I'm like, I can't come in because I've got a positive test and stuff. And yet, I still think that is contribution. Something contributory to them going, no, we don't want you anymore. They're like, well, you've let us down by staying home from work when you could otherwise have infected lots of people. I didn't want to do that. And I wasn't feeling very well. And I wanted to watch television in bed by being ill for 3 days. It wasn't even a week. It wasn't even a week, and I was back the very next week. Like, hooray, I'm not testing positive anymore. But the point is, I never had the money after that. I'm still getting emails going, do you still want this tooth? It's twice as expensive now. You should have it. I'm like, I can't have it. It's very expensive. The only way that I could justify it was like giving all of my money that I don't have anymore. All of my money. But really, that was the only reason. So I could do screamy acting. But since I can't do the screaming, I can do the acting, but not the screaming. And so it's a hampering thing. When your big roles of being in horror movies, big roles, I mean, you can get them on Amazon, so maybe they are massive. I'm so big and massive, me. I'm in horror movies. Then yeah, that's the point of that. So I would like to be in more films. So if anybody wants to cast me, I could soft scream like, oh, I saw something about somebody theorised that the tiny little arms on a Tyrannosaurus Rex are actually wings, and it's a dragon. It's like, that seems plausible and fair. Let's go with that. Because that's another thing that you get the videos of, all these, this is what I think the past was really like, and all the Graham Hancock things with the Graham Hancock's a weird thing. I mean, I did a show about archaeology a few years ago in Edinburgh, and Graham Hancock was under the pseudo-archaeology handle. I mean, I've read stuff of him years ago, like years and years. When I was a tiny child, I would read stuff about him, and it's fascinating. And he was after Eric von Daniken, but he's in that same genre of saying things that are slightly absurd about ancient artifacts, and you're like, well, it's plausible, but not really. And he keeps saying that, in Sumerian things, I've gone to the British Museum, and there's like big sort of men with wings, like they're sort of half man, half wings, and they've got little bags, which I looked up, and they've got a pine cone in their hand. And I looked it up, and I was like, they've all got little handbags, look at them. And apparently there's like all sorts of artifacts around the world with these little handbags. And Graham Hancock was actually calling them man bags, but apparently they're buckets. I mean, or they might have been weights, but what? They're in a lot of things anyway. But he's convinced that these are significant in some way because they appear in Göbekli Tepe, and the Mayans have put stuff on, and Egyptians and Sumerians have all got little handbags in the maybe like the mans with the wings. The men with the wings are probably actually dinosaurs. They are. They are what, because they're big, so they probably are, Tyrannosaurus Rex. So Tyrannosaurus Rex carried the little man bags in their little tiny hands with the wings. That's my impression of that. So that's probably what it is. But Graham Hancock also has got a weird way of speaking, that he says things like challenge and Varley. The rest of his voice, he's talking like normally, and then he says, oh, and that's the big challenge in that Varley. It's like, why are you saying these things? Why are you saying it weird, Graham Hancock? It's like you put the wrong emphasis on things, and also you've got the wrong A sound. Like, I can sort of relate to that, because when I went to college, I was from Wales. Some of that, I've got some flat A's and some sharp A's in the sharp A's, like the doggy that bit me. I did get bitten by a dog, and I'm lucky to be alive, because I mean, yeah, that's another thing. People that are bitten by dog videos, it's like, oh, I am so glad that I was like, because it jumped up, and then on my leg as well, right through my leg. And Champion of the Mystery Box. Oh, nice thing. Is he from Abertusig? I don't know, he might be. Is he Graham Hancock? Is he Welsh? He talks funny, and that's the point. I talk funny because I have some, like, I say grass and bath, but I also say grant. And that got me in trouble with the people at my college, because I was with some posh people there, and I said, and I was getting a grant, because it was back in the days when they were just phasing out grants, and still in Wales, they've still got them, which is amazing, really. You can still get a grant for going to university. I know, they're free. It's free in Scotland completely, but, you don't get that so much anymore. So I said that my grant was late. I was getting a partial grant because my father was still a teacher at the time. My grant was late and I was really worried, and it's gone to the wrong campus, and I found out where it is. It was all right. There was 2 campuses. There was the Avenue and the Park, and it had gone to the Avenue campus. So I was like, I found out where my grant's gone. It's gone to the wrong campus. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're talking about your grandmother, because grandmother has got an like grant, but not like bath, or grass. So, you know, it's confusing which ones have the and which ones have the and which ones have the e. It's confusing. It is confusing. But Graham Hancock puts the emphasis on ones in the sort of flat A's in the ones that I've never heard anyone else say. Champion, he probably says, because that's the champion. That's the challenge, that we have to think of the champions in the valleys. What? Anyway, so I've never heard him say grass and bath and grant, so I don't know what he says about that. Speech is very often labour intensive. That's another thing. I had somebody to put a video about how, and I didn't really understand it, that if you're neurotypical, then you've got habit forming, and if you've got like ADHD, then you have to think about things all the time. Now, I think I'm neurotypical. I thought I was, because I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course you have to think. Like, people like, hey, I don't have to think about driving, and they're like, it's like, no, I struggled when I was learning to drive, because apart from the fact that light and left, right and left are difficult for me, difficult concepts, especially, I'm like, is it your left, is it my left, is it stage left, is it stage right, what are you talking about? But I mean, I learned, because I was like, if I'm going this way forward, then this is my left hand, this is my right hand, so that is left, and that is right if I'm driving. No, it's opposite to you, and that's confusing. It's like, I have to see it from other people's point of view. But they were saying, anyway, apart from that, driving was like completely, I have to think about everything. It's not just like, la la la, I'm driving, I'm on autopilot. And apparently people can form habits and not think about them. Now, I've got muscle memory, and the thing is, it's not the same as addictions, because addictions, you want to keep doing it. It's more of a compulsion. But you still have to think about it. You have to go, I am going to do this thing, and you're not stopping me doing this thing, and I'm going to keep doing it, even though I shouldn't. And I'm going to ignore everything else. But you're still thinking about it. So I don't know, can people tell me if they are neurotypical people, which I thought I was. What do you mean by not have, do you not have to think about things? Because I can't think of one thing in my life that I haven't had to think of, really. I mean, I can set myself off, I can go, ting, just go, keep going, don't think about it, like backtrack a bit, so I can sort of like go, woo, and talk forevermore, but I can't, apart from the talking, which is very internal and very much, I suppose that's automatic, but it's not really, because I'm thinking all the time. I'm not like, it's not like the same thing every time. It's me talking is a sort of habit that I'm talking, but I'm not saying the same thing all the time. I hope. I do keep repeating myself, but I've made an awful lot of videos. I mean, inevitably, I'm going to go back on myself. That's one thing I was always scared of, because I had a few friends that would tell amazing, fascinating stories about their lives, and it would be brilliant, amazing, and you'd hear it, and you'd be like, wow, this person is just a mine of information, they've got so much to tell me, and then at a certain point, and it depending on how long you spent time with them, at a certain point, you just go, I've heard this story before, and it's exactly the same as it was last time. I've heard this story. It's like, and they go, have you heard, and you're like, yeah, I have heard it. It's like, this is exactly the same. And they've got no new material, it's just the same. And you're like, I've looped around, and I've reached the end of what I thought was endless information. That's it. They've just got these stories, and they're the same stories. Word for word, the same stories, and la, back to the beginning. And you're like, yeah, oh my gosh, I thought this person was endlessly fascinating. They're not! They have got an end to it, so I'm like terrified of doing that. But I've become my own nightmare in that I keep repeating the same thing over and over again, which I hope is not the same wording. That's another thing, like kids at school, if something did happen that was new, and it was exciting and new, I would like follow them around, because they'd be the popular kids and I'd be like sidekick, whatever. And they'd tell the story and I'd be like, well, that's a good story. And I'd watch it develop. So it'd get extra bits and it would develop and develop until at a certain point, it would become set in stone and that would be their story. And then I would follow them around and go, this is the bit where they're going to go, yes, they're saying exactly the same thing. It is not varying. They're telling everybody. It would be an awful lot easier if they just set up a little stage and went, here is my story, and I don't need to do it again. But then they wouldn't have had all the rehearsal time that's led up to it. So I think that's a lot of people's life, is all the rehearsal time leading up to it. It's like, and then is your perfect moment. It's like, I'm doing it, just one performance. So they don't, people, just, it's gone. It's ephemeral, it's gone. But if you can keep repeating the same story, then you keep reliving the same story over and over again with a little bit extra, making you look even better every time until it just keeps going, until it's so set in stone. You don't need any more stories because you've just got this one perfect story, which really depends on you being able to tell lots of different people that haven't heard it 60,000 million billion times. So it runs out. It does run out. Anyway, I've run out. It's the end of this week. So I will probably not be able to do one next week because, as I said, I am going to Dorset to commemorate the martyrs of Tolpuddle and go, oh, it's so sad what happened to them. We must never forget. We must always remember. So I will see you at some point. Maybe I'll do one on Saturday, or maybe I'll do one just after that. And then, who knows? And then I will be probably in Wales after that. And then I will be in the middle of the month next month in Edinburgh. And I'm hoping I get Wi-Fi. I'm going to stay with some people that have got a setup, like a podcast empire set up, so I might be able to do all my stuff without worrying. Who knows? Anyway, yes, see you next week at a certain point, but not on Sunday. See ya! Bye-bye!